Okay, so we're here with Dick Hodgin at Osceola Recording Studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is our second year here at Osceola Recording Studios to do this Vocal Recording Masterclass for the Wendy Martelli Voice Studios in Apex, North Carolina. And Dick, I have to say, it's been such a great experience working with you the second year. I think you've sort of seen how things work, and we've learned so much from you. What have you seen so far as the students that have come in and recorded as compared to last year?
I think all of these kids have been much better prepared. They are a little bit further along as far as what they are expecting when they walk in the door.
Right.
It's easy for me to expect something from them, but for them to kind of walk in, get down with the flow fairly quickly, understand what it is, because we've got a short amount of time for each one, and then get into character and do their thing so that you can capture it on the video and I can capture it on the audio. I think these kids have done real well.
Oh, great. Thank you. And he does such an amazing job of capturing the sound. What mic are we using this year? Because a lot of my voice students are going to want to know about that beautiful mic that we're using.
Well, this time we're using a Neumann M149 microphone. It's a very transparent microphone that pretty much just captures every single nuance of what comes out of the singer's mouth.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful mic. And then you do something really cool. We're going to get into the technical aspects of it in just a minute, but you do something really cool. After you record it digitally, you throw it on
analog.
And why is
analog.
that?
Well, analog is the way cool lava light of the recording. Digital recording is kind of like fluorescent lighting. It's very bright, it's clear, you can hear every single thing, it's like you can see everything. But
it's a little too clear, right?
A little too clear. That's
Right.
exactly right. And tape, analog tape, has a sound about it, a smoothness and a warmth that you cannot get in digital. So you know that stuff they pour on the top of Cinnabons?
Oh, syrup. You mean the cream?
That's analog.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you talking about that last year.
The Cinnabon is pretty good without it, right?
Right.
But then when they pour that on there,
Right. Okay, so tell us a little bit about Osceola Recording Studios and when you came here, like how long you've been here. Tell us about how you started this whole thing.
Osceola Studios actually started in 1991, the Reynolds brothers, and it was one of the only studios. I was an independent record producer. It was one of the only studios in the area that had an automated console where the faders actually moved and you could program it. This was back in 1991. And all that time I was managing bands and making records and stuff. And then when the last band that I was managing, they were on Mercury Records. Mercury got bought out and they were off the label and everything. I decided that I was going to spend my time just making records. So I came to work for Dennis McGill in 2001, and then we bought Dennis out in 2005, and me and a partner, and we had a third partner. We bought him out in 2010. And then we moved the studio. It was in one location here in Raleigh for all those years, and we moved the studio over here about 3.5 years ago.
Nice. And are you doing this like 6 days, 7 days a week?
8 days a week.
8 days a week.
According to my wife.
You know, that's the life of a recording engineer.
That is well, it's also the life of a self-employed person.
Right.
You know, I had an intern quit after about 3 weeks, and I have a lot of different interns. But this intern said, man, next Friday's going to be my last day. And I said, oh, did you get a job or you going your school change or something? And he said, no. He said, by my calculations, he said, you work about 70 hours a week. He said, that's not the job I'm looking for.
Right. Right. Can you tell us a little bit about today's recording as compared to back in the day? What's changed about recording as compared to like 10 years ago?
Well, we have a lot more tools to work with. We have more gizmos, and the more gizmos that we have that come out with regard to digital recording and the digital audio workstation, many of them are aimed at fixing something.
Right. And that's a little unfortunate, isn't it?
Well, if your job is to and what we do is we provide recording time here, and we're going to give you the absolute best thing that we can give you.
Right.
If your voice is not perfect, if your playing is not in time, if your instruments don't sound that great, I have a lot of gizmos that can help that sound better.
Right.
What happens is we build an entire generation of kids who and young musicians and bands and artists that are coming up that lean on those gizmos instead of working on their own dynamics and their own basics.
The fixing tools.
The fixing tools.
Yeah, that's why I always recommend people get in here and, you know, invest in extra time. Don't try to do it fast. You know, I mean, we're sort of under a little bit of a time crunch here for this master class, but ideally to record the vocals for a song, how many hours would you recommend?
To get a few good takes, to listen back to what you're doing, kind of get yourself in the headphone environment, figure out how you want to approach that microphone, figure out the good things that are in your voice, point out the bad things that are in your voice, try to avoid those, then get a few takes, and then comp those vocals together from all of the tracks that you take and stuff, and then do any kind of pitch correction that you may need to do, because nowadays everybody's vocal has to be perfect.
Right.
It used to be that great singers, you could go out there and you could hear a singer a little bit sharp or a little bit flat, but you didn't really mind.
Right.
It didn't come across as that, even though you knew that's what it was.
Yeah.
Now all vocals are perfect. Have to be. That's the industry standard. You cannot have that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So to do that, and then pitch correct the vocal, and then find how you're going to present that vocal with that particular track of music, and you got to kind of dig in there and find the right reverb room for them, and if you're going to add any delay or any special effects, I'd say just plan on about 3 hours.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I think that's about all I need to ask you, because we actually have a full day of recording today. We have 4 more students from Wendy Martelli Voice Studios to record today, and it's going to be a really exciting day because each of the students gets 2 hours. They get an hour behind the mic and then an hour in here. What I really love about what we're doing different from last year is I'm actually letting the student sit with you.
Right.
And let them be involved in the whole mixing process with you, rather than me saying, you know, I think you need this, because they really need to hear it and say, this is what I really think it needs. And I saw a lot of that yesterday. And
I think a lot of the kids were actually like, wow, okay, I didn't realize I was doing that.
Right.
And I'm not attending to it like I would a release on a label, which is even more in depth and a lot more acute. But the kids were like, wow, okay, so that's how my note goes from there to there, and there's a little slide in, and it's not really, so it's the note before the note that was out of tune, not the actual note. So they learned a lot about watching the grid when I'm pitch correcting and stuff. Also just about how their voice sounds when they stop hearing it in their head and start hearing it through their ears.
Right.
Because when they're singing, they're hearing it in their head. And all of the mechanics and the plumbing that takes place when someone sings and what they perceive themselves to sound like. Then they stop that, they come in here, then they hear what and they're like, that's what I sound like? You know? Or, got that.
It's a little disconcerting.
Got that, didn't you?
A little disconcerting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dick. It's been such a great experience. And Wendy, do you want to ask him anything?
I want to say that, you know, it's very concerning bringing young students here who are ambitious, who I find in the school settings are knocked down a lot by the choir teachers or stuff because of the politics and everything. And you find an approach for every student that comes in here. Why do you, like, how do you get that feeling, or how did you get that empathy toward them?
Well, everybody starts somewhere. And that's what you have to remember if you're in this business. Everybody starts somewhere. It's easy to kind of put off someone who may not be quite there yet, but everybody starts somewhere. And I try to remember that when everybody walks in the door, you don't know who that person is. You don't know who that person's going to be. So you have to open up an opportunity for them to see the process and to kind of get down with the process. Most people that come in here are a little nervous the first time. They look around and they go, wow, You know, everybody's going to be looking at me. Everybody's going to be listening to me. Every little thing that I do is going to be under the microscope. So I try to disarm that. I try to, you know, kind of lighten it up a little bit. Because once we kind of get them into the process and they start hearing themselves like, hey, that's kind of cool, you know. And so I just try to open it up for them to have some fun. It's not life-saving surgery, you know. It's
well,
not.
I see you sometimes go behind the mic while they're there and play around and kind of show them, you know.
Right, you gotta show
easy.
them that it's okay to get in character. In fact, that's what we really want them to do. Is we want them to get into character, because if they're not in character when they're doing it, the listener's not going to hear that character later. So everybody has seen so and so on TV in the studio, or you know, behind the scenes, or on MTV, and they've seen them in the studio and they think, oh, that's the way it is. That's not the way it is. It's hard work in here. And after about an hour of watching me work after they work, they're like, wow, this is work.
Right. And they can
I mean, it's fun
appreciate
work,
it
right?
better,
And it's fun work, but it is definitely work. It's kind of like a, you know, a video game. When you first time you boot up a video game, what happens? They kill you instantly, or you crash the car instantly. It's like, oh wow.
Right.
So, but the more you do it, and the more you get into the process, it's like, okay, this is work, you know. And I have to apply myself. I have to get into the right character in my head. I have to take care of my voice. I have to understand how the microphone works, and you learn how that microphone is your friend.
Oh, it is such an experience. I was saying that you're so patient with my students, and I'm sure you do that with all your clients, but I particularly feel very comfortable bringing them here.
Good.
How encouraging you are, that's really very important. This is so intimidating, I think, at first, but they have fun, and then they can actually see that all these artists are real people.
Right.
And that they get to sit behind the engineer as well and do the same thing, and you make it real and you make it true, and I think you're great.
Well, I think they get a sense after going through it themselves that when they hear that song on the radio, they know how much work went into making that song be that thing at the end of it.
Right.
And that's a good experience for them. So
I highly recommend Dick and Osceola Recording Studio. So thank you very much.
Thank you all
Till
for
next year.
coming again this year. This is great.
Okay.